In 2014, I participated in the annual Spirits of Oakwood tour, leading groups through the cemetery and stopping at designated gravestones to recount Tyler's history. On a balmy Saturday in late March, on the corner of Oakwood and Palace Streets, I drive to Tyler's oldest place of rest for over 3,000 departed residents. I enter the gates and step back in time. Giant magnolias and oaks, centuries old, keep vigil among tombstones, museum-worthy in their beauty. Lichen and moss creep up the faces of marble angels, eyes lowered. The gravestones of Oakwood are a map of Tyler VIPs: Bergfeld, Bonner, Caldwell, Chilton, Goodman, Herndon. Men's names now seen on Tyler schools, streets, and parks. Men whose bones now lie beneath my feet. My first group files in. I welcome them, my long skirt and neck brooch in contrast to their Teva sandals and dripping water bottles. Are any of them from the Oakwood Cemetery neighborhood? This is mostly a black and brown area of Tyler. Its residents experience poverty at levels higher than the rest of the city, sharing space in an area where some of Tyler's wealthiest contributors are buried. It may be safe to say that the highest concentration of white people in this neighborhood are those laid to rest inside the gates of the cemetery. I scan the dozen or so in my group, multiple generations of all white folks. There's a baby stroller carrying an infant and her older sibling. A white-haired man, spry and smiling with perfect posture, sports a Marine's cap and a plaid button-down, perfectly tucked into pressed khakis. Walking backward through the yellow, pollen-heavy grass of late March, I halt the group at our first gravestone. They are standing nearby in full costume. Is a Spirit of Oakwood, a local volunteer actor impersonating a departed Tyler resident. The gravestone holds not one, but 3 children's names. 3 sisters from the Estes family of Mount Selman, who died in the same instant on July 1st, 1916. The actor depicting the children's mother begins the story with the children caught outside in a storm. They take shelter underneath a tree, and tragically, 3 of the 5 Estes children are killed by lightning strike. At the end of her emotional script, which includes a Bible passage, you could hear a pin drop in our group. The air hangs heavy. I am no longer standing with individuals enjoying a leisurely Saturday before lunch. The acted-out tragedy they witness coalesces them, and they suddenly become a group of grieving mourners. Then a child scrunches her empty water bottle, breaking the silence. The baby in the stroller begins fussing, a cue for us to move on. We walk to the centerpiece of the cemetery, a grassy rise topped by a Confederate battle flag. I gesture and say, under this mound are the remains of 231 Confederate soldiers. They died at Fort Hood from sickness rather than in battle. In 1907, this Confederate soldier monument of Italian marble was commissioned by the Daughters of the Confederacy. And in 1909, its installation was declared a gala day by the city. Church choirs sang. White children dressed in white joined a parade of 5,000 through town, ending at the cemetery and scattering flowers. We stroll forward, coming to the cemetery's edge. I pause again. This strip was reserved for Black Tylerites, many of whom lived enslaved. Their names are unknown and graves unmarked, save a single memorial erected in 1997 by Ernest Sterling, a local Black businessman. I can hear my voice rising now as I address the group. The story goes that in the 1930s, a prominent Tyler woman saw the swath of makeshift graves marked with ironstones and declared it an eyesore. She asked the city to fill in and level the area, and they did. Funny, she remains unnamed too. I have moved off script, but I'm on a roll now. I take a breath and continue. This gravestone belongs to the one known African American in the exclusively white part of the cemetery. Our beloved Black Mammy, Cynthia Rabb, it says. She was buried with the family who enslaved her. Some in my group release sighs of tenderness. Others appear slightly troubled. Among the other spirits we visit that day are the founder of Swan Furniture and Katie Bannon, a young bride-to-be who took her life rather than wed an older man named Henry in a match arranged by her parents. At the end of the day, sunburned and ready to kick off my buttoned-up boots, I say my goodbyes, pondering Oakwood Cemetery and its stories, ugly and beautiful. And just when it seemed that Oakwood's chronicle was carved in granite, a new discovery emerged in 2016. A small grant enabled the Oakwood Cemetery Restoration Committee to locate unknown graves using a ground-penetrating radar machine. 179 bodies in the African American section were identified. What was there all along, now confirmed and counted. 4 years after that, the Confederate battle flag was quietly taken down by the city. And maybe even in my lifetime, more changes will emerge. Maybe movements, both small and seismic, will shift the ground, and I'll catch a surprise glint of sunlight, a sudden inhale of fresh oxygen. Maybe there is time to hear new names and new stories, exhumed and added to the narrative that is Tyler, Texas.